NNN Stock is one of the more interesting REITs lately, with a juicy 5.5% dividend yield and 34 years of dividend increases. Looking at the year-to-date chart, we see that NNN isn't really going anywhere, but in between there were lots of buying opportunities, especially since the recent big drop of 15%. And looking at the total return in the past 5 years, we see that you hardly played break even with this REIT. And this is including that juicy dividend. So this begs the question, is NNN stock a buy at current prices? Well, let's find out by diving into the recent earnings, doing a fundamental analysis, and of course, by the end of the video, come up with the 3 price targets. NNN reported earnings on the 31st of October, where they beat on FFO and on revenue by a slim margin. This actually is not looking too bad to me. Looking at the actual numbers, we see that revenue is increasing at a decent level year over year. In the recent quarter, it was reported at 218 million, up from 205 million in 2023. Net earnings per share is decreasing, which is kinda surprising to me. So this is definitely something to keep your eye on. And the most important numbers, the FFO and AFFO, are actually increasing year over year. So these parts look good to me. Looking at some other highlights, we see that occupancy rate is at 99.3%, which is an insane good number. Another thing is that dividend payout ratio is reported at 67%, which is actually pretty good for a REIT. It is below the 75% average. Looking at the debt levels, we see that 40% is unsecured debt, with a maturity of 12.3 years, and the other 60% is common equity. The coverage ratio is also looking pretty good to me, at 4.2 times. Looking a bit more at the diversification, we see that in total NNN has 3,549 properties and over 375 tenants. There's a pretty good diversification across all the states in my opinion. Looking at the lines of trade, we see that automotive is the biggest industry, with almost 17%, which is way too high in my opinion. I prefer a maximum of 10% here, per industry. It's the same story with convenience stores, so this is something to keep your eye on. And NNN is really proud of their dividend, as they should. With a total length of 35 consecutive years of annual increases, the third longest of all public REITs. Pretty impressive if you ask me. And now that we know more about the company, it is time to check the fundamentals of this stock. But first, if you made it this far into the video, I want to thank you a lot for watching this video. Make sure to subscribe to my channel to receive multiple analyses every week. And also join my Discord channel for free to meet other people within the community and to talk about stocks. It's completely free, so don't miss it out. Let's continue with diving into the fundamentals. NNN is a 7.8 billion market cap company. PE ratio is not a fair metric to use with REITs, so I'll be using the price to FFO instead. And right now it is sitting at almost 12.75, indicating they might be undervalued. Later in this video I will show you my 3 price targets for NNN stock, so make sure to watch until the end, because price to FFO is only telling a small part of the full story here. Revenue is at 867 million, and in this graph we see that revenue went up in the long run. It has to be said that for a REIT it is growing really steady and consistent, besides the lockdown periods of course. We see that margins are going up over a longer period of time, which is looking really good to me. Especially the net margin is looking really good to me as well. EPS is showing similar trends as the margin and revenue. For a REIT it looks pretty good. Analysts have mixed feelings about the EPS growth. It doesn't look too exciting to me to be honest. Especially the end of 2024 and full year of 2025 is looking a bit disappointing. But 2026 is again looking pretty decent with 5%. For the revenue it is looking also very interesting, with mid-single digit growth expectations for the upcoming 3 years. Return on assets is sitting at 4.5%, which is a decent number for a REIT. Return on equity is looking pretty decent, and the most important number, return on invested capital, is sitting at 4%, which is a low number, even for a REIT. But it is higher than the 5-year average, so that's the positive part here. Current ratio is at 1.72, which is a decent number for a REIT. Historically it went up and down quite a lot, but recently it is looking pretty steady. And right now NNN has 4.37 billion in debt, and I prefer companies that can pay down at least a big chunk of their total debt with the total cash. NNN has 173 million in total cash, so they can't pay down a big chunk of their total debt. This is something that I don't like. So it is very important that free cash flow is growing, since this is used to pay down debt of course, but also to buy back shares, pay dividends and all other things. And here we see that free cash flow is kinda going up in the long run, which is a great thing. Shares outstanding are increasing, which is very common for a REIT, since they increase shares to raise capital. But when shares outstanding are decreasing, it increases your ownership in the company, increases EPS, lowers the P/E ratio, and makes it easier to maintain and increase the dividends. And since we're talking about dividends anyways, dividend yield is sitting at almost 4.45%, which is a great number. Annual payout is at $2.32, and payout ratio is around 69%, which is below the 75% average for REITs. The 5-year growth rate is at 2.5%, which is a low number, but they increased the dividends for 34 years in a row, which is really impressive. In here we see the dividends paid since 2014, and to me this looks really good. NNN really likes to increase the dividend at a low rate, but over a longer period of time this really adds up. In this graph we see the expected dividends in 2024, 2025 and 2026. Of course this is an estimation and can be highly impacted by results, but it gives you a rough indication. It's expected to grow at a historical rate from here. 2026 feels a bit random to me with a decrease. And overall these dividends look pretty good to me, but how about the historical returns? I decided to compare NNN stock with the overall market, in this case the S&P 500. Next to that I added ADC and Realty Income. On the 5-year chart we see that NNN returned 0%, and this is including dividends. The S&P 500 did return 109%, massively outperforming all stocks in this list. Only ADC managed to get a positive return here. On the 1-year chart it looks pretty interesting, with the S&P 500 again beating most stocks in this list. Both NNN and Realty Income were massively outperformed, but ADC managed to beat the S&P 500 here. On the 6-month chart it is pretty much the same story all over again. ADC is doing a great job with 31% return, while the other REITs are lagging behind. On the 1-month chart it is again NNN that is underperforming everyone in this list, with a massive minus 10% return. So bottom line, the S&P 500 was by far the better investment in the past 5 years, and NNN got hammered quite a lot recently. So could this be the perfect time to buy NNN stock? Well, let's check the 3 price targets that are created using the Everything Money software, which is one of the best tools out there. I'm using a low, mid and high assumption to get the 3 price targets. For the revenue growth I'm filling in 5, 6 and 7%, based on historical performance, their own outlook, but also because of the analysis. For the profit margin I'm filling in 46, 48 and 50%. For the free cash flow margin I'm putting in 72, 74 and 76%. For the P/E ratio I'm putting in 20 since it is a REIT. And for the price of free cash flow I'm putting in 10, 12 and 14. My desired annual return is 12.5% since I can get an easy 10% average annual return with owning an ETF. And right now NNN stock is around $42. I hit analyze and we see a few green numbers. And since this is a REIT I'm only focusing on the discounted cash flow value. We have a low price target of $39, we have a mid price target of $46 to $47, and we have a high price target of $55 to $56. And to me, the mid to high price target is the most justified here, indicating that this stock is undervalued. And please let me know the price target that you think is the most justified in the comments down below. My final conclusion on NNN stock is that it is finally getting really interesting to buy this stock. I would love to see lower prices, let's say below $40, but it is already looking pretty good to me. This is just a really steady and consistent REIT, and the 34 years of dividend increases back that up, which is not very common within this industry, of course. Most fundamentals look really good to me. The company is able to grow at a consistent pace in revenue and increase the margins at the same time. And as said a second ago, the dividends are also looking really good to me, with a healthy payout ratio and a really long track record. From a valuation point of view, I also get really excited to see this stock around $42. But I would love to pick up some shares around $40. So for now, I'm waiting a little longer before I pull the trigger. But I'm definitely going to buy this stock at $40. Until then, I will wait and keep analyzing them from time to time. And remember to always do your own research and never fully trust on what I or other YouTubers say about a stock. I'm not a financial advisor and this content is just for entertaining purposes only. I hope you liked this video and that did bring some insights of the company to you. I would really appreciate a thumbs up and make sure to subscribe to get notified when I'm posting a new video. Thanks for watching and I will see you in my next video.